On our AT&T line now, former State Representative Todd Courser, the Republican. Thank you for being available this morning. Welcome to the program, sir.
It's my pleasure, Mike. Thanks for having me this morning.
If you remember the moment you were elected, that must seem like a million years ago by now, huh?
Well, it seems like quite a while ago. It sure does. A lot has happened since then.
The range of emotions is astonishing to go from what that must feel like to be elected to the state house and then to, at 3 in the morning, say no mas. Can you describe how you're coping with that? And you never would have imagined when you were elected that you would be out before even 1 year was up, right?
No, certainly wouldn't. I mean, it's quite a turn of events, obviously, and the way that it all happened was, where they bar the doors and refuse to let the representatives get up to go to the bathroom and hold the board open for what seemed like 12 hours at least. So it's kind of unprecedented in the way that they handled it. Also, it just shows that concentration of power that I think is really really sort of come into the spot where you're not electing representatives who have freedom to be able to express their views or to be able to do what they want. They're just going to be held there until they get the votes, until the leadership gets the votes and the things that they're absolutely pushing for. So I think it exposed a lot of the problems with our system as well. So, but yeah, it's obviously it's not something that you're excited about. It's something that happened, and it's unfortunate the way that it went down. And obviously trying to, we're turning the page and with my own family, my own self, and determining what really is the next direction and what that's going to look like.
Do you know that yet?
No. I mean, I'm sitting here with a cup of coffee, looking out the window, watching the birds, playing the bird feeder here this morning, and not terribly concerned at this point. I mean, it's been like you said, it's been a long, sort of turn of events there. So.
Were you planning to come to the Republican Leadership Conference this weekend?
No, I wasn't.
You weren't.
I'm not as big on that. I mean, it's basically a free bar crawl, and it's not. I'll go and see some friends on occasion, but it's not an event that I normally attend. I'll attend on occasion.
Was it beauty killed the beast in your case?
Well, I don't know exactly what you mean on that. But what are you trying to say?
I guess what I'm asking is, was the fact that you two worked so closely together what spawned the romantic relationship, or was it the romantic relationship that caused you to combine offices and work in lockstep?
Well, the combining of the offices actually was proposed by the staff and actually encouraged by the staff to begin with. And even when we saw problems with it along the way, they really were very tightly. It was kind of a pack. You had these three guys, and they were very closely aligned. And obviously now we know that they were very closely aligned also in meeting with the Speaker's office before all of this came to light. And it was some of the strangeness of all of that is I think still being fleshed out with everyone. But no, we worked together. I mean, obviously, she had she had her political bent and mine were very closely aligned, and we worked together for a long time, and so as political allies and also as friends, it obviously went in the directions that it did. But the combining of the offices and addressing that wasn't ours. That was really theirs, and we saw problems with it right from the beginning, as evidenced if you read the 833 pages. Which some people have done. Most people haven't. They've read the 9 pages, which is filled with allegations and inconsistencies. Their findings that they're calling fact. But if you read the actual underlying allegations, it's got a lot of accusations, but scant when it comes to evidence. It really is. So, most people are not going to read the evidence, especially when you're talking about that the evidence was finally made public to the representatives and to everyone. Really just only a short time, a day, or I don't think it was even 2 days before the vote. And so they took the unprecedented step of expelling 2 members. And, I dare say that, only a handful of the representatives on the floor had actually read the underlying evidence. So So it's a pretty disturbing, I think, a pretty disturbing trend for our democracy when we start looking at, or democratic processes, when you start looking at that they're taking really their highest, sort of their highest authority, which is to expel two members that the voters put in place, and they're doing that really on what I would say is scant evidence of misuse. And you can look through it, and there obviously is some. It's based on a couple of conversations that are personal in nature and also political in nature that were taped in the State House, which happens all the time. There's always personal conversations happening, and there's always political conversations. Just in this case, those conversations were taped, and then they use that to say that that's misuse of taxpayer facilities and resources. So now you have, obviously the bank situation where, he's of course not expelled and not censured, and they're going through those steps. And you have Virgil Smith on the other side, of course, is not expelled and not censured, and you have these really, really, what I would say is egregious things that have happened. And of course, there's no censure. But I think the problem in our situation, or my situation, is that you didn't have, obviously, the political allies on either side of the aisle. And I think that in and of itself created that perfect storm where the leadership has been really, really offended at the way that we've just stood, or that I stood against them in particular, and voted no, obviously, on anything that was an increase in fees, an increase in spending, and an increase in taxes. And so that pointed out, when you have only, I think, 4 Republicans voting against the biggest budget in history, it pointed out really that the Republican Party isn't a conservative party, but it's the BGTC party, the Big Government Progressive Conservative Party. I think I said that right, the Big Government Progressive Conservative Party. Really what it is they're for more and more spending, and most Republicans will call them fiscal conservatives, even if they vote for more spending, but then they'll vote against more taxing. And so it puts you in an untenable situation, because you have these folks who are claiming to be fiscal conservatives. And I think only 4 voted against that budget, this last budget, just as a case in point. All of the rest of them voted for the largest budget in state history, and actually allocated even less money towards roads. And so I think that it's a really difficult place for somebody who's going to really hold fast to the conservative principles that they were elected on, especially for taxes and spending and fees and that sort of thing.
We will continue with conservative Republican Todd Courser, the former state representative, in 3 minutes. If you'll stay right there, we'll be right here. And we'll take a look at the Speaker's office and an inside look at the process, too, with Todd Courser. And don't forget, you can listen to this again on podcast at mibigshow.com. It's Michael Patrick Shiels all across Michigan.